Whilst I wanted to try the Special 40s purely for self-indulgent reasons, I'm going to say it straight off the bat. I'm really annoyed at Dynaudio because they've really pulled another proverbial rug of my conceptions of what's possible in a speaker at this price. Removing the little plastic tweeter protectors in the warning yellow colour is pretty neat. It's like kind of arming something on an aircraft because all aircraft covers seem to come in yellow. Design wise, these are conventional looking suit and briefcase type speakers that mean business, much less a male model, gelled, chino wearing, logoed underwear showing, gearish looking type. Minimalist is the style of Scandinavian design and they won't look out of place anywhere. A log cabin, country house or a semi-detached house in Basingstoke owned by a guy called Rodney. The thing is that's so great with speakers like these is that the person in front of them could be eating a deep fried Mars bar or a cream tea. You know, they're just totally inclusive. So the giveaway to these being Dynaudios is the gaps in the dust cover because the driver is an all-in-one unit and the curves in the front bezel at the top and bottom. Also, these 20s are decently sized with the box dimensions. You've got a two-way design with an 18cm mid-bass driver and Dynaudio's Ceratar soft dome tweeter, a rear bass reflex port and a single set of binding posts. But it doesn't stop there. I'm not going to go into huge technical detail in this review because these speakers at this price might suit someone who isn't hugely into the technical angle. Also, Dynaudio's explanations of some of these features of this product are so damn good. You know, what you can't do better yourself, don't do at all. I put a link in the description to a PDF. The thing is though, right, sound quality is the most important thing, and let's cut to the quick. It's rare to get a pair of speakers much lesser price to ones that you own and sit listening all evening when you get them. And that's not just some sort of casual hi-fi reviewer BS, but when you spend as much time as I do, as Clint Eastwood does on the production of films, you naturally get lots of time with the product to get a very good, accurate view about what it does. So one thing that's really useful looking out for when you get a new pair of speakers is faltering pitch or tone of instruments, because every instrument won't sound perfect all of the time. And I found myself hearing deficiencies this way in the starting few bars of Agnes Obel's track Familiar, which is one of my test tracks on her Citizen of Glass album. No idea what the instrument is, but it's a kind of guitar-y, twangy sound, and you hear the failure, the faltering of that note. You don't hear that with my £3,500 PMC 2523s. So these speakers have an uncanny knack of presenting timbre, particularly in the mid-range, that presents warts and all, everything that others around this price that I've tried don't produce. And going back on the aviation analogies with some more specs, I'm a huge plane nut, and these speakers genuinely really take you up there. So what I actually found is that whilst the PMCs go further than the Dynaudios in most other areas, as you'd expect, it's rare as toilet roll during a pandemic in a supermarket to find a pair of much lower price speakers that reveal timbre like this. Usually you find all the characteristics slide to pricier speakers, but I didn't find that here. And this might, and I stress the word might, be due to the way Dynaudio are well known to design all the drive units themselves, and nothing is a bolt-on type, which many speaker brands do. I found with these speakers that treble is not in your face bright or too far etched on all recordings that it could ever be described as tiresome or irksome, I think. I always stress the word bright connotes very excessive treble because it gets used too casually in hi-fi to mean any treble. There is a sense as well that the mid-range is bumped upwards, but it's not unwelcome because they take you into understanding all that the music has. No, I didn't say they take you deeper into the music, or the other one, a veil is lifted. I found that the mid-range is really holographic and exquisite in this way, and they convey a sense of the layers and elements in the music. The drivers are well integrated and balanced, and so is imaging and dispersion. And separation is as far apart as, I don't know, Prince Andrew is to the British monarchy at the moment. But I think that the main takeout of these speakers is the depth and insight in the mid-range, soundstage, and how well balanced the drivers work with one another. They're refined luxury sounding speakers at this money, and boy do you get a lot for your money. £824 they're selling for in the UK at the moment, just under €1,000 I think. And you just get so much more than you did 15, 20 years ago for similar money. I remember having a pair of Tannoy DC6T SEs, a pair of floor standing speakers, around £1,000, and they're nowhere near as dynamic, detailed, refined as these speakers. The other thing I think you notice is that the bass dynamics are decent, and particularly when you use bungs in these Dynaudios. And on the flared ports, Dynaudio say that they still do their job with the bungs in, but obviously to a lesser degree, and you can move them in and out to tailor bass response to the resistance of the bungs occupying more or less of the port, which is effective with these speakers and something that you don't often think of doing. You either push them in fully or take them out. Now I actually bought KEF LS50 Metas, so I'm in a position to make critical comparisons. And in short, if I was there again, I'd genuinely buy these Dynaudios instead. And the reason I'd buy them is that they're more the engaging speaker, they're more exciting, and they're just much more wowing. Wow. Also, they image slightly better, they get more out of a recording. The treble isn't rolled off like the KEFs. There is more openness and rawness in the mid-range and upper mids, and width-way sound staging is much more marked. Also, the sound is more dynamically engaging across the frequency range and not as rounded out as much. Not extending as low as the KEFs is surprising, as the LS50s have smaller drivers, but I actually thought this is small fry because essentially the sense is that both speakers have similar bass depth. One written review that I read as part of this review, as part of my research for this review, mentioned these Dynaudios against the KEFs and said that the KEFs have a different type of sound in comparison, which they said isn't a bad thing, but that in relation to a comment on the KEFs, they said they communicate the dynamics and the timing of the track in a slightly more natural and believable way. So the thing is, audiophile reviewers and listeners go for speakers with an aim of being neutral or natural, which is fine. But the issue is, where does that line stray to becoming too bland to convey the recording without the necessary bite, particularly to suit the acoustics of most furnished rooms with carpets, curtains, sofas that all deaden the treble. So I'd say the sound that these Dynaudios give makes them more believable, in fact. Also, when they talk about dynamics, referring to bass depth in this way, they slightly aren't as on-off with bass as these Dynaudios anyway. This all makes the Emit an involving listen at all volume levels and moderate and low levels too, which most people are going to be listening at. Obviously I'm comparing small things, and these KEFs are still bloody good speakers indeed. The LS50 Metas have fore and aft depth soundstage in bucket loads and probably have that over these Emits, and that's in all likelihood the UniQ technology doing its stuff. If you had to imagine it, it would be like a stage, performers on a stage occupying a deeper platform. But there's a caveat to that, as oddly and ironically, this back and forward soundstage improvement is counteracted by their tonal qualities. So overall the KEFs paint a flatter sound that the Emits convey with their depth in the mid-range and dispersion, albeit not in a tonally enveloping way like the KEFs achieve by comparison. Much perhaps like the difference between vinyl playback to CD playback, if you had to put a kind of stereotype to it. Is that a pun? So I think if your reason for deciding is this warmer enveloping character, you'll have the KEFs over the Emits. But for my money, these Dynaudios improve in all the fundamental areas like dynamics, detail and soundstage and that mid-range. The KEFs work really well tonally with a Class D amp like the Mytek Brooklyn Plus that I reviewed, whereas these Dynaudios are Hagel H390, and that just so happens an all Scandinavian pairing. I didn't fix that. And anyway, before I conclude, a shout out to Public Service Broadcasting's new album, a terrific group. Of all the speakers around this price I've tried, this Emit 20 from Dynaudio are definitely the most precise and dynamic, and the drivers so well integrated at the same time. The fact too is that they are £300 cheaper than the KEFs, which were £1,000 in the UK, but I notice on KEF's website they're now £1,100. So considering performance and a lower price, that has to be factored into this review. Even at this price, these speakers are easily good enough to be considered endgame speakers for some or many people. They're my pick for those who want a speaker at or around the £1,000 price point of all those speakers I've tried so far. If you want particularly all the qualities of detail, bass responsiveness, mid-range quality, lovely balance, good dynamics and loads of dispersion, which if you think about it is pretty much everything for every single bod or hi-fi lover. These are such f***ing good speakers, they're going to win a load of awards I think, and if they do I wouldn't be surprised, and anything else would be a head f***. And if I keep going I'll have more swear words than the Wolf of Wall Street.
Now, when you sail on a boat fit for a Bond villain, sometimes you need to play the part, right? I think it's time you both get the off my boat. What do you think?
Anyway, thanks for watching, and please like, comment and subscribe and let me know what you think. Please don't ask me how does this product compare to another one that I haven't reviewed. It slightly does my head in if I'm honest, because how would I know if I haven't reviewed it? Also, if you're asking me for any other advice on other products I've tried and you want system advice, how does this compare A and B, please subscribe to Patreon, because as I've said before, I think it's fair that those people who want extra input from me should subscribe.